Hi friends, welcome to Raising Lifelong Learners. I'm your host, Colleen Kessler, and this is the podcast where I encourage you to trust yourself and your differently wired kiddos as you help cultivate their curiosity, encourage them to discover the world around them, embrace who they are wired to be, all while helping them discover their passions, interests, and raise them to become the amazing adults they're meant to be. Hey, welcome back. This is episode 235. Today, we're going to talk about what it means to create a learning-rich environment. I've talked about a learning-rich environment and cultivating one and having one a lot on this podcast and in different talks that I've done. But what does that even look like? What kinds of practical application can you take from this episode today to make sure that the atmosphere in your home is learning-rich, is accessible to your kids, and makes learning easy for all of you? We're going to talk about that, some concrete examples and some structural ideas, as well as some strategies that you can use to put into place tomorrow to create a more learning-rich and accessible environment for your kids. Before we begin, as always, I'd like to just thank CTC Math for their continued sponsorship. Check them out if you're looking for a math program or you just want to support a great company. And then before we get started, we're going to get right on with today's episode after this word about our other wonderful sponsor, Night Zookeeper. Both of them are making it possible to continue delivering great content for you. And so I appreciate them so much. So check them out if you get a chance. All right, let's get on with it. Okay, are you looking for something to kind of shake up what you're doing for language arts? Night Zookeeper just might be the answer for you. We have used Night Zookeeper in the past, but we're back in it this year with my youngest, Isaac. He is just about to start jumping in again, and I'm excited to be able to share on social media some of the things that he's doing with it. But Night Zookeeper is a game-changing language arts program that takes the stress out of teaching because it's fun, it's engaging. Your kiddo is going to love it because it's different than other things. It teaches your child spelling, grammar, punctuation, vocabulary, reading, and writing through a pre-planned language arts curriculum that your kiddo can use independently. I love this because a program like Night Zookeeper frees me up to do one-on-one help with another kiddo while one is doing Night Zookeeper independently. And then, so when Isaac's doing this, he can jump in, he can learn, he can write, he can engage with the word games and the interactive video lessons and the cool, fun, inspiring writing prompts. And then if he gets stuck or he wants to share something with me, he can pause and come get me and I can go help him, but I don't have to sit there and do it all from start to finish. And let me tell you, having some of those kinds of programs in your back pocket when you are a crazy busy mom of gifted, twice exceptional, and otherwise neurodivergent kiddos is a game changer because you can take it on the go, you can bring your tablet with you, your kiddos can access it from the computer in the family room or the laptop on the go or their Chromebook or whatever. And okay, so here's something super cool. Your kiddo is going to get written feedback on their writing from real tutors. So if they need support or they need to be working on something or they need to add some more describing words or they're messing up their punctuation, you don't have to be the bad guy. I know I'm the bad guy often in my house when I'm trying to get my kids to understand a certain concept. And here you have real tutors at your disposal helping you by assessing and taking a look at your kiddos' writing and giving them feedback. Thousands and thousands of homeschool parents have found success using Night Zookeeper to transform their children's attitude towards language art and writing in particular, and you're going to love it. It's perfect for ages 6 to 12. If you've got an advanced kiddo, you could start them earlier on it. If you've got a kiddo who needs a little bit more support with their reading, writing, vocabulary, or other language arts skills, you can let them jump back into it or stick with it a little bit longer. However you need to use the program, you've got this. Okay, so if you're ready to say goodbye to the stress of teaching language arts, give Night Zookeeper a try. Just head on over to rll.bz/ rll.bz/nightzookeeper, rll.bz/nightzookeeper, all lowercase letters, and you can get a 7-day free trial and 50% off an annual subscription. You cannot beat that. If you can't remember that link, rll.bz/nightzookeeper, you can also head over to the show notes for this episode and find the link there. All right, are you ready? Let's get on with today's episode. Hey there. Okay, today we're going to talk about how to make sure that the environment we create at home when we're homeschooling our kids, no matter what their ages are, whether you are homeschooling from the beginning and you're starting with itty bitty ones and you're listening in so that you can make sure that you structure things well to set them up for a great future, or you've pulled your kids out kind of mid-year or after a particularly difficult grade level, or maybe you started homeschooling during the pandemic and you just fell in love and now you're looking to update and revamp things a little bit. We're going to talk about making sure our home and the feel of it, so not just the actual structure and organization of our home, but the feel of our home is set up so that it is learning rich and inspirational so that we and our kids can thrive in a homeschooling environment and in this adventure that homeschooling actually is. I talk about this topic of kind of creating a climate of learning and love and understanding and connection in my new book, The Homeschool Advantage, a child-focused approach to raising lifelong learners, that is coming out from Wiley Publishers in July. So it's coming up soon. I'm super excited about it. And in the next couple of months, I'll be sharing some pre-order bonuses and things like that. But you can get it now on any website that sells books, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, anywhere. We'll link to it in the show notes on a couple of those places if you want to pre-order. Just make sure if you pre-order now, you hold on to your digital receipt in your inbox, because in the coming weeks, we are going to be sharing about some pre-order bonuses, including some really exciting things you're not going to want to miss out on. So as long as you hold on to that receipt, so you have proof that you pre-ordered it, you'll be able to jump in and grab those pre-order bonuses when they're announced. All right, The Homeschool Advantage, a child-focused approach to raising lifelong learners. I'm super excited about it. And in it, I talk about cultivating an atmosphere where your kids are going to thrive, and so will you. So let's talk about the idea of creating and crafting a learning-rich environment at home so that our kids kind of have a haven for growing and learning and loving together. So why is this even important? Why is it important to take the time to even think about crafting a learning-rich haven for our children? Because isn't education, right? We just need to make sure that we get them the right kinds of resources so they can learn a bunch of different things and be well-rounded individuals. Well, yes. So yeah, what the kids are learning is important, but it's more about connecting with them and making sure they feel empowered to learn, and they're learning things that are of value to them. I was reading and doing research for the book, and to make sure that it was a very valuable piece of literature and resource for you, I came across a conversation that I think is very valuable and a great perspective for us to think about when we're thinking about our homeschooling. When we look back at our own education, if we went to a traditional school, or if we pulled our kids out of a traditional school, or have been involved with those in the past, several decades, or even more recently than that, everything that kids learn in school is pretty much weighted the same. You get letter grades for art and music and physical education, as well as biology and math and language arts and reading, writing, whatever the different subjects are. If you decide to take an elective in drama or an elective in pottery, those are based on a letter grade system as well. This is why in the school systems, teachers need to target what kids are struggling in, the areas in which they're struggling, because every one of those grades is equal on the report card. It all goes into calculating the final GPA. But what about those kids who get by with math and get decent grades, at least to pass on to the next level, to get the basic amount of math they need to get in order to graduate and be contributing members of our society and know that they are not going to go into a math-heavy career. Maybe they want to go to cosmetology school because they've always wanted to work in a salon and be a technician who works with hair and makeup. Maybe they want to be a stage performer. Maybe they want to do something else. Maybe they're a fiber artist and are incredibly talented and are already creating amazing things that they sell in their Etsy shop online. Why are we equating all subjects equally? Why are we worried about their grade in physical education and music and biology equally to their art classes and basic business math classes and things like that? It doesn't make sense when we look at it that way. And it sends the wrong message to our kids if we're trying to replicate that at home. If we have them at home, we want them to know that learning for its own sake and because it's something we're passionate about is what is most important. And that's why we want to create a learning-rich environment at home. We want to make sure that our kids know that learning is flexible and it's adaptable, and there's strategies for all different kinds of kids and minds and interests and passions. The foundation of learning comes from helping to create for our kids a supportive and positive atmosphere. We want them to focus on the process of learning and the enjoyment of it more so than the outcome. We don't want them to equate everything with a grade or an accolade or a certificate or some kind of pat on the back or whatever. We want them to learn what is going to be the most important and valuable to them at a given time. Now, that said, I am a person who feels very strongly that my kids need a foundational level of math. They need to be able to read fluently and effectively and draw inferences in the language that they're reading. They need to be able to write. I want my kids to be able to handwrite in both print and cursive. I believe in the research that supports that cursive, the flowing kind of structure of the handwriting, crosses the left and right hemispheres of the brain to bring in different modalities so they're learning and they're being more creative. It taps into their creative brain. I also want them to be able to read cursive so they can read anything that's put in front of them. This is something that's valuable to me. And so I have some of those non-negotiables in our home. You're going to do a little bit of math, a little bit of reading, a little bit of writing every single day. And that can be done in all manner of things. I am less strict on my older kids when it comes to this, than my younger kids, which I know for a lot of families out there, this feels counterintuitive. It feels like we'd want to be more strict with our high schoolers than our elementary school kids because we want them to have what they need on the transcript. Except that I believe that one of the greatest gifts we have as homeschool parents is that we can create the transcript that it best represents our child and sets them up for the most success with whatever it is they're going to pursue moving forward in their educational and career aspirations. And so I want my high schoolers to be able to take deep dives into things about which they're passionate. My oldest, who's 21 now, spent the majority of his high school years in videography and photography and editing and things like that. And now he works as a freelance video producer, video editor, podcast editor, audio engineer, and he does photography and lots of things around. He kind of has a lot of little clients here and there. He's constantly looking for more and is learning, because of necessity, the business side of being a freelancer, where you need to manage your money, because oftentimes you have lots of jobs coming in and other times you have fewer, and how to manage finding new leads when you're in the midst of a whole bunch of projects, because you know eventually those projects are going to be finished and you need leads to be ready to be the next clients you work on when the current client load is lightened. You also need to manage your time. These are all things he's learning on the job, and having him do very specific credits in biology and physiology or physics or whatever a traditional high schooler is doing their junior and senior year didn't make sense for someone who wasn't going to go into that. Same thing with my younger kids. As they're getting older, we're tailoring more and more of what they're doing to what they're interested in doing. it's important for us to kind of emphasize that supportiveness and positivity when it comes to learning in our homes. With my younger kids, I set them up for success by giving them resources that are going to build stamina, longevity. It's going to help them be able to read and understand the things that they're coming across about topics they're interested in. They've got basic math skills. And so we're moving forward in those ways. And that's where I say I'm a little stricter with my younger ones because they don't have their life-driven ambitions yet. And so my job is to make sure they're well-rounded enough to be successful at whatever it is they choose when they choose those directions to go. And so, again, we want to make sure that there is a foundation that is supportive and positive. We want to make sure as a parent, we're looking at ourselves less as a teacher, an imparter of knowledge, and more as a facilitator, a guide kind of on the side, helping our kids to get what they need while fanning the flames of the passions and interests they're showing. And we want to make sure that we're helping to fuel their curiosity and their love for learning. And while doing that, we want to share our own. My kids see me exploring all sorts of things. None of them have ever known a day of homeschooling where I haven't been working from home. When I first started homeschooling my children, I worked as a freelance writer, and I was in my office writing projects for textbook companies and science companies, and I was working on books for teachers and parents and children and all sorts of other things. But I was looking for new assignments to come in, and I was working on the current assignments I had, and I would make sure that I put up boundaries around the time that I was using to work, and then when I wasn't working, to be with my kids. And they saw me working with and for other people within the parameters of the assignment that I was given. As they've grown and I've grown, I've started writing more books instead of short form content for other people, though I do still have a column in a magazine. I write a column for Homeschooling Today magazine every quarter. And you can find that at Homeschooling Today. If you just search Homeschooling Today, or we'll link to it in the show notes. But my job has kind of evolved. When I wanted to start podcasting, they watched me learn how to podcast. They heard me talking to friends who were already doing it. They saw me figuring out what the equipment needs that I would have would be. And they've seen me upgrade equipment over the years as the podcast has grown. And they've seen me go out to speaking events and talk with other people to help nurture them in their own homeschooling. They see me learning what I need to know to continue growing as a lifelong learner. And so I'm showing them by sharing my own sense of curiosity and love for learning that it's okay to grow into an adult who doesn't know everything, because there's always a way to learn it. And I want that for them. And I think that you want that for your kids too, because that sets a really strong foundation for their future learning. We also want to kind of design a physical space that's conducive to this exploration and this learning. We want to optimize our home environment for learning. And that just simply means that we want to make sure that our kids know that learning is integrated into our lives. I think the best every homeschool is different, first of all. So I guess I'm not going to say what the best homeschool looks like, because the truth of the matter is the best homeschool for you is the homeschool that you're going to be eagerly ready to engage in. And the best homeschool for me is the one that I'm eagerly ready to engage in, which is just like the same when it goes to curriculum. It's hard for me to tell you what the perfect curriculum is, because the perfect curriculum for you is the one that you're going to use. And the perfect curriculum for me is the one that I'm going to use. And for me, that means actually using very little curriculum. You hear me talk about CTC math. We use that for our math curriculum. I've talked about Night Zookeeper. I've talked about reading eggs before. Reading eggs helped 2 of my children learn to read. And one of them still uses it periodically to check in with some of his skills. Night Zookeeper is one that we're using to kind of foster some more writing in my youngest. And then CTC Math everybody uses. So it's important to know where you are. I don't use curriculums for the other subjects. I pick and choose. I use pieces of curriculums. I use pieces of programs. I use pieces of resources from different companies and put it all together. And so I'm more concerned for me with the physical space. I want my kids to walk into any room and be able to grab something that's going to fuel some kind of curiosity or some kind of learning. Maybe that's a game. If you walk into my kitchen, there's a built-in bookshelf that I'm sure the designers, the builders, when this house was built in the, 80s or 90s, figured would be for cookbooks or plants or whatever. And mine is filled with board games and card games because it's right by the kitchen table. So it's a perfect place to put everything that we would play if we were sitting there. There are cookbooks. There are other resources around. There's also, if you walk into the dining room area, it is not a dining room. It has a table. It has a computer desk. It has a lizard. It has a tortoise. We just got a new baby redfoot tortoise. And it has different insects to feed our various animals, and lots and lots and lots of art supplies. My table is scarred and written on and graffitied, and it's a beautiful, beautiful mess. It looks very lived in, and it is full of different things you could pull. My youngest, as I'm recording this, had pulled out his snap circuits that he got for Christmas and was doing all sorts of different activities in his snap circuits book. And so there's lots of different things that they can pull. You walk right into the family room, and there are bookshelves with books. There are games tucked on those same shelves. There's a big television. Well, it's not that big, that particular one. And it's hooked up to different video games and streaming services like Curiosity Stream. Every room in my house has something. Even my office has a Lego wall on one side of it. And my kids randomly and regularly change out the Lego pictures on my Lego wall. So there's something to do just about in every room that fosters that idea that learning is just integrated into our everyday life. But our kids also need a place where if they want to get away, if they want to read, if they want to study, if they want to do something on their own, they can. So for us, that means each kid has a desk in their room. For my youngest, who's 11, that desk is usually just cluttered with trash and toys. He does not use it. My 14-year-old has started using her desk as an art center. And then my 16-year-old, she studies at her desk and works on monologues and different activities for her various acting and vocal roles, and then does her schoolwork there as well. So everybody has their own space within the home, and then the community spaces are just full of different things. I want to encourage you to think about your home as a fluid kind of place where anywhere anyone would look, they'd be encouraged to dive into a hobby, sink into cushions and read a book, cuddle up with one another to watch a show or a documentary, and know that learning for its own sake is just part of life. Even if they don't actually equate it with learning, it's just what you do. I just love that kind of philosophy in a home. This is just what we do, and we love it for its own sake. Sometimes this feels overly cluttered and disorganized, and so it's going to depend on your comfort zone when it comes to how much you keep out, how much you put away. We have kind of a mixture. Our house is pretty cluttered, but we have a place for just about everything. We have an art cart. We have little boxes and baskets for different things. And so you need to find your own balance for that, but you need to also know that if you're choosing to homeschool your kids, you are choosing to invite messes in because your kids aren't leaving for big chunks of every day. And so when you live in your home roughly 24/7, it's going to be messier than it would be if everybody was leaving for large chunks of the day. I'm not leaving to go to work. I'm working here at home. I'm not sending my kids off all day, every day, 5 days a week. I don't have big, giant blocks of time where everybody is gone and I can catch up on things. And so I've needed to let go of some of the decluttering that I want to do and just accept that things will be cluttered. Hey there. Okay, so you've heard me talk about CTC Math a lot on this podcast and in my newsletter because CTC is the math program we use and we love. I am a subscriber. I paid for my own subscription. I've been a customer for years. My children use it. I love CTC because it's adaptable. It is taught to mastery. It shows you their mastery level. You can move on when kids learn something. You can go backwards if they need extra help with something. You can do a couple grade levels in a year if you need to. You can skip grade levels. Every subscription includes access to K through calculus, so you can use whatever part you need. You don't have to be locked in to one grade level. I love, love, love that. I also love the people behind the company. They stand behind their product. If at any point you feel CTC is not working out for you, reach out to them and they will help you. They will get you squared away. They will help figure it out so you can be successful. And if you still don't think it's going to work for you, they'll give you your money back. You really can't lose using this program. it's the best there is. It really, truly is. It's the most adaptable, the most cost-effective, and the greatest people. So check them out, ctcmath.com, and let them know I sent you, because I want them to know how much we appreciate them. People have written in, like my friend Carol, to tell me that they are grateful that they heard about CTC Math because they had a kiddo who just wasn't moving forward. And by being able to kind of game the system and skip the areas that they already knew and move ahead towards other grade levels and complete a couple in a year, made their kid motivated. And so Carol reached out to tell me that she was grateful that she'd heard about CTC. If you have a story like Carol, I'd love for you to share it with me. Just hit reply in any of my newsletters or go over to the show notes for this episode where you can find a link to CTC Math and you can find a link to my contact page so you can reach out and let me know what you think about them, because I would love to hear who else is finding success with CTC. If you're having any trouble with the program, reach out to CTC because they're great and they will help you in any way you need. All right, check them out, ctcmath.com, and let's get back with today's episode. When it comes to creating a learning-rich environment for our kids, we need to embrace and integrate technology. Technology often gets a bad rap, and people want to get their kids off the screens as much as they can, and I think that there's a value in doing both. I posted a quote on my Instagram recently, and I'm going to share it. I'll embed it in the show notes for this episode so you can see it. I'll embed the Instagram share. But it was talking about how we want to, like, who we want to surround ourselves with, and actually I'm going to see if I can find it so I can read it to you directly. Yeah, it says, it's from Mel Robbins, and it says, surround yourself with humans who create their lives, people who change more than they complain, create more than they consume, live actively instead of accepting life as is. Find people chasing down their potential and sprint together. I love that quote, and like I said, we'll share it, but I love that quote because it ties right into how and why, how we can integrate technology and other resources into our homeschool in a way that's conducive to our kids' learning. Technology is not going away. We need to give our kids opportunities to learn how to self-regulate and then step in as we see that they are or aren't regulating well. My youngest is not regulating well right now. He's 11 though. And if he has a choice, he will always choose Minecraft or Roblox or some other kind of video game above doing anything else. And then if he gets bored with that, he'll turn on Star Wars: The Clone Wars or some show. He is very, very passive, and he and I have taken to continuing to repeat to one another, create more than you consume. I keep telling him, I don't have a problem with you playing video games. Video games aren't going away, and there is a certain value to being able to talk with others through a shared experience like a Roblox game you're playing together or whatever it is. But if you really are this passionate about it, I need you to create something. Maybe you can learn how to code and you can create your own skin for one of the games or adaptations or whatever they are all called, because I honestly don't know enough about that to be sure. But I want him to be able to embrace the technology that's available to us while stretching himself. So one of the things that I've done recently is to collect a couple different kits that require some basic coding. I also bought him for Christmas. He didn't ask for it, and usually I'm pretty good about getting my kids things I know that they want. And this particular gift is one that I knew he'd like. It's a mini Sphero, and I can link to it in the show notes. It's a not that expensive version of the Sphero, which is a ball that you can code using an app on your phone or your iPad. And I got him the mini, and it's got like a basic joystick where you can move it around like a little bowling ball, and it comes with some different accessories. But then you can go deeper into the app to do some basic coding. So then when you finish the code, you just press, click or go, and the ball does what you've programmed it to do. And so I wanted to give him some basic coding that gives you instant gratification. And so that's how I started him. I also have some different kits that I've recently purchased, and I'll talk about it a little bit more in the future because I haven't even opened the box, but I got him a coding set from Home Science Tools that I'll be working with. And so I want him to use technology in a way that is going to be conducive potentially to his future. He's a very mathematical and analytical, algorithmic kind of kid. So this might be something that he could be interested in for the future. So you want to make sure that you know what role technology is going to play in your homeschool and how much or little you want it to be involved in it. We have several programs we use online. I run the Learners Lab community, which is online. We do live Zoom meetup for the kids. We do a couple live Zoom clubs. I teach some live classes via Zoom. And then there's a forum for parents where they can get coaching and master classes and talk, and then a forum for kids that they can share on. And so technology is not going away, so we're trying to embrace it and utilize it in a way that is conducive to building relationships and connectiveness. And so when we're designing our kind of learning-rich homeschool, we want to make sure that we're providing age-appropriate ways to use educational apps, online resources, and help our kids develop a balanced approach to their screen time, hopefully by adopting that mantra of creating more than they consume. We also, when it comes to creating a learning-rich environment, want to tailor learning styles towards the kids that we have. Now, that doesn't mean throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Our kids need to know how to learn from a variety of different sources and methods and types of facilitators, because if they choose to go to college or they choose to go to trade school or they choose to strike out on their own in business, they need to be able to consume and understand information from a variety of different ways. One of my kids we know is going to college. We're preparing right now for her senior year, and she needs to be able to take notes and be able to extrapolate from a lecture. That's important. She's definitely more of a visual person who prefers to read or listen to something like a podcast and not necessarily take notes, but she's been experimenting with bullet journaling and using different colors and sticky notes and designs because it'll keep her brain involved in it. Whereas one of mine is very, very much a video learner, and he needs to learn to get things from books as well. So while we can tailor our homeschooling towards the kids that we have, we also want to make sure that we're exposing them to different ways of learning. Hands-on, visual, auditory, all the different things. And then when we're focusing on things that maybe they struggle with and want to get or need to get better at, we want to make sure that we tailor our approaches to those subjects or topics through their preferred learning style, the one that they're most able to learn from, so that we give them a balanced approach to the different styles of learning that they are exposed to. We also, when it comes to creating and crafting this learning-rich haven for our kids, we want to be diverse and holistic when we're thinking curriculum. Curriculum in its like nitty-gritty sense just means what you use to learn something. So there's actually, I want to talk about this in a future podcast, but there's this kind of myth that goes around regularly in homeschooling Facebook groups and other circles that a curriculum needs to be accredited to be of value or to get a kid into college or count as a high school. And the truth of the matter is there's no such thing as an accredited curriculum. Schools and institutions are accredited. So you can facilitate the learning in any way you want, whether that is an actual curriculum that's published by a curriculum company or you pulling together resources that teach a topic, or your kids just diving in and learning it on their own. All of that is valuable and all of that works. So approach curriculum or whatever resources you're using in a holistic way. Incorporate various subjects, various topics, real-world experiences, a mixture of hands-on, word of mouth, visual, experiential learning. Get your kids deeply involved in their lives, and the learning is going to come from it. Visit museums, visit historical sites, talk to people who have interests in various topics that might be interesting to your kids. Years ago, and I've talked about it on this podcast before, we stumbled upon this small startup company in this converted house in a little community near us where they were doing glass blowing and glass fusing and blacksmithing. And they were offering a 3-week class for homeschoolers. The first week you did one thing, second week you did another, third week you did another. And in the process, the kids blew a glass ornament. They blacksmithed an ornament holder. And I don't know if blacksmithed is actually a verb, but you know what I mean. And they fused a glass piece or ornament together as well. And it was great. We learned so much from these people. And over the years, we've gone back just to be in the presence of creatives who are passionately doing something they're interested in and then trying our own hands at doing new things. We've got glass statues and blown balls and pumpkins and all sorts of other things that we've created over the years. And now that I'm talking about it, it's probably time to go back. Give your kids lots and lots of different opportunities, and don't get yourself stuck in just the curriculum says to do this then, and so we have to. Give yourself flexibility. Really take advantage of the flexibility that homeschooling offers us. As you're doing that, I think it's important to foster, if not a love of reading, because the truth of the matter is, yes, that is ideal. It is ideal for everybody to love reading. And I think lives can be richer when we encourage our kids to love reading, but not everybody's going to. My husband does not like reading. My oldest son does not like reading. Can they read? Yes. Do they prefer anything other than reading? Yes. They would rather watch a video or listen to a podcast. And in a pinch, if they've got to consume a book, they'd rather listen to an audiobook. And that's okay. We want them to understand, though, that books are important, and we want them to love literature, love all genres. And so we want to make sure there's lots and lots and lots of different types of reading material at home. You want magazines, you want puzzle books, you want graphic novels, comic books, nonfiction, fiction, various ages and abilities. You want picture books and chapter books and novels and tomes, great historical tomes. You want all sorts of things so that your kids know that they can find anything they need in a book, that they look forward to going to a library. You might want to create a family reading routine where every day you read something together or apart, but together, where you're all curled up in your own corner of the family room or in the sunshine and you're reading a book. Whatever it is you want to do, you want to make sure that books are a part of your life. And so over on the website, and we'll link to a page on the site that has collected them, I have published dozens and dozens and dozens of book guides. There's book lists for every month of the year. There's book lists for different topics like anxiety and anger and nature study and all sorts of different things. And so we also have a page that lists all the different book lists that are on the site. So we'll link to that in the show notes in case you want some book recommendations. We also want to make sure when we're creating a learning rich homeschool that we encourage interaction, we encourage connection and socialization. In that, our kids are connecting with one another in the family as a team. They're connecting with neighbors. They're connecting with outside community members. They're volunteering. They're getting involved in activities and support groups or something that's passionate for them, something they're passionate about, a topic, a hobby, a sport, something, because we want them to connect with other people and share in those goals of creating a project together. I love theater because it brings all sorts of different people together, from the crew and the creative team to the cast, and none of them are more important than the other. Of course, the audience sees the cast, but the cast wouldn't be able to do what they're doing if the creative team hadn't directed them, or the crew hadn't built a gorgeous set that works. And so we want them to be part of something where they're part of something bigger than them. And so getting them involved in outside groups, but then also having them support one another in the home is important. Get them involved in things together here too. Creating a learning rich environment in our homes and making it a homeschool that fosters this includes building that foundation of supportive and positive atmospheres and a sense of curiosity and a love for learning, designing your physical space so it's conducive for learning in all ways, integrating technology and learning styles, building a diverse curriculum, and encouraging social interaction with your kids and people around them in your greater community. If you do these things, you and your kids are going to thrive. You're going to be flexible, you're going to understand that learning takes place all around you, and you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to make it through. You can do this. You can homeschool your kids all the way through high school and beyond when you are tapping into who they are, loving them for who they are, and helping to give them the resources that they need to be successful. You've got this. You can totally do this, and I believe in you. If you ever need support, if you ever need encouragement, just reach out. I do consultations. You can find that information on the website, but you can shoot me a message via email or voicemail on the contact form, and I'll just talk you off a ledge. I'll talk you through it if you need that as well. If you just need something quick, if you just need a burst of encouragement and a reminder that you are the best parent and the best teacher for your kid, you can get that. Just reach out to me. Also, watch for my new book, The Homeschool Advantage, a child-focused approach to raising lifelong learners, coming out in July 2024, and watch for those pre-order bonuses. Like I said, my publisher has it already for sale for pre-orders on all the different places online where you can find books, so you can pre-order it right now, but make sure you hang on to your digital receipt and you watch for the pre-order bonuses that are coming so you can enter that and you can get your bonuses when they become available. I'm so excited for you to see this book. I'm looking forward to sharing it with you, and I appreciate you being here today. You have so many different places that you can spend your time, and I am just really grateful that you are part of this community because you make my life better by being you. Have a great week. Enjoy your kids. We'll be back same time, same place next week with another episode. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.